Hey guys, welcome. I'm Spencer and this is Sketch a Day, where every day I give you something new and interesting about how to draw and see the world around you. And today I'm going to be doing something that I kind of do when I don't know what I'm going to draw, which is a printer. And I do know what I'm going to draw today, but I just wanted to share with you just a little bit of technique. This is a demo that I did on my former website, idsketching.com, a while back, and kind of got lost through time. So I'm going to kind of update it today and show you some new techniques using the iPad Pro as well as pen and paper. So this will be part one of our demo. You can find part two tomorrow, or actually Wednesday. You'll be able to see part two and check that out and see how I finish that up with the iPad Pro. Today I'm going to be using just a simple ballpoint pen. This is a Bic Cristal pen. I'll post a link in the description below. You can check that out if you want to try it yourself. So let's get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do is just kind of get comfortable with the paper. I've got here a large sheet of marker paper. It doesn't really matter what size you use. What's important is just to kind of follow along and see if you can keep up with the principles that I talk about. So what I like to do with ballpoint, because of the nature of the tool, is I can actually sketch really light. So hopefully you can see these lines. They're barely there. I'll zoom in so you can see some barely there lines, but I'm sketching in what I would consider to be a framework for my design. And this is like a wireframe, if you will, that kind of encapsulates the rough volume of the product. So inkjet printer, it's going to have paper coming out the front, a little bit of a tray on the top. Maybe we'll make it a scanner on the top. We'll see. We'll play with it. So you'll notice as well that here in the front, I've got the main line for my design. Maybe you can see it, maybe not. This is the main line here. And then I've got this back edge, and you can see that this back edge, instead of being straight up and down, is a little bit in, okay, toward this main line. Same thing on this side. And so what I'm doing is I'm approximating a 3-point perspective. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to go back in time, check out my videos about perspective drawing, 1, 2, 3-point perspective, and this should make a little bit more sense. But basically we have 2 vanishing points, the left and right, and 1 below. Now that I have my rough volume, I'm going to draw through on the back side of this really lightly as well. Okay, just so I know where things are and need to be. Now for my printer, I'm going to block this design out like so. And this is kind of where I'm going to put my controls for the printer. And I want this to kind of stick out. So now at this point, I can kind of start playing with some transitions and also sketching out what this form is going to look like as it kind of comes together. So I've got this little control panel here that's sticking out, and I'm going to kick it up as well in the front so that it's kind of a prominent feature. And this is perhaps where you would interact with the printer and tell it how many copies you need or whatever. Okay, kind of get an idea of the queue, that kind of thing. On the back side, you can see here I'm rounding out the back and the bottom. All right, so we kind of have this almost Fig Newton-like design going here in the front. And I'm going to roll this front edge and then round the bottom. And then where the paper comes through, so this is the divide section of my process, meaning I've sketched the form and now I'm starting to divide that form into functional pieces, okay? So here I've got a little bit of a tray coming out in the front. Again, sketched in really lightly, but hopefully you can see that all coming together. And one of the cool things we can do as we sketch, and you can do this if you're sketching a printer or anything really, is you as the illustrator, designer, artist, you're really in control of the presentation. So as I sketch this in lightly, I can also bring out the details with a little bit of contrast, okay? And that's pretty neat to be able to do that as you're sketching. So I'm not too worried if my ballpoint sketch here is really light, because really I want to be light until I get it right, okay? So just remember that, light till you get it right. And when in doubt, rough it out. Okay, so I've got enough here that I can start to apply some heavier line weight and perhaps even shadows, things like that. Because I have a general idea or sense of what this design of this printer is going to look like. And I like to have vents on my printer, so I'm going to sketch just some parallel lines, okay, just on this back side. And I'll leave that in really light because when I do go digital with this, I want to be able to make some changes as I go. One of the tips that I oftentimes forget to mention is that as you're sketching, draw with your shoulder, but also feel free to rotate your page. So you can take your paper and rotate it to the angle that works best for you. And this is good practice because you'll be able to have really crisp, good lines as you draw. Instead of trying to contort your body to match the paper, have the paper match where and how you draw best. So with this ballpoint pen, if I just apply a little more pressure, and kind of hit the same spot a couple times, I can get a really nice, dark, clean line. And that really, frankly, just happens with practice, being able to hit the same line. But drawing with your shoulder certainly will help you have much better lines as you draw. Now you might be thinking, I can't believe he's sketching on marker paper. Or maybe you're not thinking that. But I actually like marker paper because it has a really nice tooth to the paper, meaning it has a nice texture, it's not too heavy, but it also works really well with pencil. So it's kind of my go-to sketch paper if I'm doing a nicer sketch. So that's why I sketch on marker paper. Now ballpoint pen does take a little bit more time than felt pen. So if you've seen me do drawings with paper made flare, this takes a little bit more time, mostly because I'm trying to build up value in these lines and create a hierarchy throughout my entire drawing so that I'm really conveying that sense of depth and form on this two-dimensional piece of paper, which really, frankly, can be challenging. So your perspective, your line weight, how you apply your color, once we get to that point, it's all going to come together to help communicate depth and three-dimensionality. So again, I'm not too worried about this because part 2 of the video, I'll show you how I would go ahead and clean up some of this stuff. But my goal here is just to get, again, some nice line weight down on the page. Okay, so you can see that with a little bit of work here, a little magic passing of time, that our line work is in a pretty good spot. Now with ballpoint pen, especially these big Cristal pens, you can see here I've made a couple little smudges and errors as I've gone. But like I said, this is part 1 of the video. So in part 2, I'll show you how I go about cleaning that up and making that better in the sketch. Also, I'll show you how I just apply some quick and simple tone to this just to make the idea pop, to highlight functional elements, areas, and just further enhance the three-dimensionality of this sketch. So, as always, sign your work. I need to get better at that. It's actually a good habit to get into because it timestamps your work so that you can actually track and see your improvement over time. Okay, so just remember, ballpoint pen, light till you get it right. When in doubt, rough it out, because that contrast in your lines in your sketch is going to help bring everything out to the foreground in your sketch. So you, as the illustrator, designer, artist, are in control. And yes, I'm sketching a printer, but you can apply this technique to pretty much anything you want. So get out there, get sketching, and try this yourself and see if you can apply this same technique to whatever it is that you are going to be creating. Well, thanks for watching, guys. It's been fun. I love sharing what I do with you, and hopefully you love what I'm doing. And if you do, please share this video with a friend. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're not, youtube.com/sketchaday.com is my YouTube channel. You can subscribe there. Also, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/sketchaday or Instagram at sketchaday.com. The URLs are just below here. You can also find me on Twitter. Yes, Twitter, at Daily Sketches. I haven't been the best yet this year, but I'm going to work on getting on Twitter more. Also, I may or may not have a Snapchat channel, so or account rather. I'll cue you guys into that when I'm ready. But thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Sketchaday.